Imagine waking up and discovering that vast stretches of America's farmland are no longer owned by farmers, but quietly scooped up by billionaires through secret deals. What's the real reason behind this sudden land rush? Is it about food control, water access, or turning dirt into gold? From cornfields in the Midwest to dusty plains out west, the biggest land shift in U.S. history is already happening, without most people even realizing it. So why are ultra-wealthy investors buying farmland like it's the next oil? Let's uncover the 10 states where most billionaires are secretly buying up farmland. Number 10. North Dakota. You might not hear much about North Dakota in everyday conversations, but behind the quiet plains and wide skies lies one of America's most strategic land investments. With over 39 million acres of farmland, agriculture dominates the state, covering nearly 90% of its total land area. That's right, this state is basically one giant farm. And lately, it's been attracting major attention from land investors and silent buyers for a few very smart reasons. First off, the soil here is insanely productive. North Dakota is the #1 producer of spring wheat and durum wheat in the US, and a global leader in canola and dry edible beans. If you've ever had pasta, bread, or cooking oil, chances are a piece of it came from this state. Farmland prices, although rising, remain relatively affordable, averaging around $2,500 to $3,200 per acre, which is a bargain compared to coastal or California land. But what really makes North Dakota a hot target? Water and climate resilience. The Red River Valley has rich glacial soils and consistent precipitation patterns, making it ideal for dryland farming. Plus, as the climate shifts, northern states like North Dakota are gaining growing season days. That makes this land future-proof, an asset that could actually increase in value as southern states face more droughts. Also important, land laws here are unique. North Dakota has historically restricted corporate and foreign ownership of farmland, but in recent years, exceptions and workarounds have emerged. This means that buyers need to act carefully, but those who do manage to acquire large tracts know they're getting a long-term prize. Locals are noticing. In counties like Cass, Burleigh, and Ward, large parcels are being bought under shell LLCs and trusts. Some transactions cover thousands of acres in a single deal. It's quiet, it's methodical, and it's transforming ownership maps in ways that most people don't see. North Dakota might not have the flash of California or Texas, but when it comes to food, water, and future value, it's #1 for a reason. The land may be flat, but the opportunity? That's rising fast. Number 9. Montana. Montana is often described as big sky country, and once you see it, you'll know why. It's endless. With over 93 million acres of land and a population of just 1.1 million, it averages about 7 people per square mile. That's less density than Mongolia. But it's not just the views attracting attention, it's the land itself. Farmland here has become a hot commodity for investors who want space, water, and long-term value, all wrapped into one massive purchase. Montana boasts more than 58 million acres of agricultural land, over 60% of the state's total land area. Wheat, barley, hay, and cattle dominate the farming scene, and the state ranks in the top 5 for wheat production nationwide. In fact, a single Montana ranch can span 30,000 to 50,000 acres, which is larger than some cities. It's no surprise that large parcels here are quietly changing hands, often through holding companies or trusts far from the public eye. What makes Montana extra valuable? Water. Many of these vast properties include riverfront access or come with rights to groundwater aquifers, which are becoming increasingly important across the West. Some regions, like the Highline and Golden Triangle, have both fertile soil and reliable water, pushing values on irrigated land to $3,500 to $6,500 per acre, a big jump from just a few years ago. Locals are feeling the shift. In counties like Fergus, Cascade, and Valley, land that was once passed down for generations is now being sold off at premium prices. And with that comes concern. As ownership consolidates, some residents worry that Montana's rural communities will lose their independence, and that outsiders are redefining what the land is used for. So while Montana still looks rugged and untouched, It's quietly transforming into one of the most strategic real estate zones in the country. Wide open skies, yes, but now they're covering big calculated plays in the future of food, water, and American land. Number 8. Oregon. Oregon might be famous for its hip coffee shops and misty coastlines, but head inland and you'll find something much bigger brewing: land deals. Big ones. With more than 16 million acres of farmland, Oregon is quietly becoming a magnet for major farmland investment. But this isn't about buying a few hobby farms, it's about acquiring serious agricultural real estate with long-term value. So why Oregon? Start with the climate. The state is home to over 220 different crops, thanks to its mix of coastal, valley, and high desert zones. The Willamette Valley alone produces more than 2/3 of the world's hazelnuts and also supports vineyards, grass seed, berries, and vegetables. Farmland with irrigation access in this region can go for $10,000 to $20,000 per acre, and demand has surged more than 35% in the past 5 years. But it's not just the crops. Water rights are gold in Oregon. Properties along the Deschutes, Umatilla, and Rogue Rivers come with senior water access that's becoming more valuable every year. With climate change and droughts hitting the West, land with stable irrigation is being treated like a future-proof asset. Much of this land isn't being snapped up by locals either. LLCs and holding companies, some anonymous, are acquiring thousands of acres in counties like Klamath, Malheur, and Umatilla. Some deals involve over 5,000 acres in a single transaction, raising eyebrows among local farmers who fear the cost of land is racing beyond reach. And then there's the development angle. Rural Oregon has become attractive for renewable energy projects, including wind and solar farms, and even future housing communities. The land here isn't just growing food, it's becoming a stage for the next generation of infrastructure. So while the Oregon coast gets the tourists, the inland farms are attracting something else: quiet, calculated investment. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. And it's transforming Oregon's agricultural heartland one field at a time. Number 7. Idaho. You might know Idaho for its famous potatoes, but here's the real scoop. It's quietly becoming a land investor's dream. With over 11.7 million acres of farmland and a booming agriculture sector worth $8.5 billion annually, Idaho has some of the most productive and now most targeted ag land in the U.S. From rolling fields in Twin Falls to massive irrigation systems in Canyon County, this state has become a hotbed for quiet acquisitions. Why is Idaho so appealing? First, it's water-rich. The Snake River Basin and expansive irrigation systems give buyers long-term water access, a key asset in a world facing more droughts. Plus, land here is still relatively affordable, averaging around $4,200 per acre, much cheaper than neighboring Washington or Oregon. That lower price point makes it easier for investors to scoop up large tracts, sometimes tens of thousands of acres at a time, without drawing too much attention. What's catching the eye of investors is not just potatoes. Idaho is also a top producer of barley, wheat, hops, and dairy. It ranks third in milk production nationwide and has a strong ag-tech infrastructure that makes farming here more scalable and efficient. Combine that with low property taxes and fewer restrictions on foreign or institutional land ownership, and you've got a recipe for a land rush. But not everyone's thrilled. As large parcels change hands, often through anonymous LLCs, many rural Idahoans are voicing concern. There's a growing fear that longtime family farms are getting priced out, and some counties have seen land values increase by over 35% in just 5 years. Locals worry this trend could alter the rural way of life, pushing out generational farmers in favor of large, distant investors. So yeah, behind those scenic farm roads and endless crop rows, a quiet transformation is happening in Idaho. And it's changing the meaning of what it means to own the land. Number 6. California. California might not be the first place you think of when it comes to farmland. Too much traffic, too many cities, right? But hold on. California actually leads the nation in agricultural output, raking in over $50 billion a year. That's more than any other state by a long shot. With over 24.3 million acres of farmland, It produces two-thirds of the nation's fruits and nuts, everything from almonds and avocados to grapes and garlic. The heart of it all? The Central Valley, an agricultural powerhouse stretching 450 miles through the middle of the state. With fertile soil, a Mediterranean climate, and a massive irrigation network, it's no surprise that big investors have set their sights here. Farmland in counties like Kern, Fresno, and Tulare is being snapped up fast, often through quiet purchases done under corporate names, making it hard to tell who's really behind the deal. Water is the biggest factor. In California, farmland isn't just about crops. It's about the water rights that come with it. As droughts become more frequent, controlling water means controlling everything. Some properties with strong well access or senior water rights are now going for over $20,000 per acre, and that price has doubled in just a decade in some areas. But it's not just farming anymore. Some parcels are being repurposed for future development, solar farms, or climate resiliency projects. In Solano County, for instance, there's been a quiet land rush involving over 50,000 acres, with speculation that it could become a new, tech-forward city someday. Whether it's food, water, or future infrastructure, California farmland is becoming a strategic chess piece. Of course, locals are caught in the middle. As outside investors drive up prices, small farmers and rural communities are struggling to keep pace. It's sparking debates about land control, food independence, and environmental priorities. California may be known for its glitz and glamour, but down in the fields, a different kind of gold rush is already underway. Number 5. Washington. When you hear Washington, your mind probably jumps to Seattle, coffee, and tech giants. But just drive a few hours east and you'll discover one of the most valuable and productive farming regions in the country. Yep, we're talking about eastern Washington, where endless fields, fertile soil, and prime irrigation have made it a hotspot for quiet, large-scale farmland buying. Washington isn't just trees and rain. It has over 14.7 million acres of farmland, and it ranks among the top states in producing apples, cherries, hops, wine grapes, potatoes, and wheat. In fact, Yakima Valley alone produces 75% of U.S. hops, which makes it a goldmine for agriculture-related investment. But here's the real kicker. A lot of that land includes Columbia River water rights, making it insanely valuable in an era where water access equals power. And that power isn't going unnoticed. In places like Walla Walla, Grant County, and the Tri-Cities area, land values have climbed sharply. Some irrigated farmland parcels are now going for $12,000 to $20,000 per acre, depending on water access and crop potential. Investors are drawn to the climate versatility, desert-like summers, mild winters, and a long growing season for a wide variety of high-demand crops. Many of the recent deals are being handled discreetly. Properties are being sold to LLCs, trusts, or corporate entities, making it hard for local communities to trace who's really buying up the land. This has led to a growing sense of unease. Family farmers, some of whom have been on the land for generations, are finding themselves priced out or forced to lease back acreage they once owned. There's also concern about consolidation. As more land gets concentrated into fewer hands, local control and regional food independence become harder to maintain. But one thing's certain: Washington's farmland isn't just a regional asset anymore. It's a strategic investment with national and even global significance. Number 4. Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the land deals. With a jaw-dropping 248,000 square miles, Texas is the second largest state and boasts more than 125 million acres of farmland and ranchland. It leads the nation in total number of farms, clocking in at over 247,000 farms, covering roughly 85% of the state's land area. And guess what? A growing chunk of that land is being quietly bought up, and not just by cattle ranchers. Why? Because Texas is the land of opportunity in every sense. It has fertile agricultural zones, vast flatlands ideal for wind and solar energy, and strong groundwater reserves like the Ogallala Aquifer, which stretches beneath much of the Texas Panhandle. Some farmland with prime water access has jumped from $2,000 an acre to over $7,000 in under a decade, especially in counties like Hays, Blanco, and Bastrop. Texas is also business-friendly. There's no state income tax, minimal regulation, and plenty of land that's unzoned, making it attractive for both traditional farming and more speculative ventures like data centers, renewable energy projects, and even planned communities. Land purchases here often come with long-term visions that go way beyond crops or cattle. What's even more interesting is how quietly it all happens. Many of the largest deals are done through trusts or holding companies that never draw headlines. In places like Hudspeth or Brewster County, entire ranches, some larger than small cities, have been bought and consolidated. That's made it tough for young or local farmers to compete, as land values in some regions have surged 40 to 60% in just the last 5 years. And yet, Texas still holds on to its rugged identity. Locals value land, independence, and self-reliance. But as more acreage changes hands behind closed doors, the landscape, both literal and cultural, is shifting. In Texas, farmland isn't just a slice of Americana. It's becoming a strategic asset in a high-stakes game. Number 3. Kansas. Kansas, the breadbasket of America, where the skies stretch wide and the land is pure farming gold. Seriously, if you've ever driven through Kansas, you've probably seen more wheat, corn, and cattle than people. And there's a good reason for that. With over 45.7 million acres of farmland, agriculture is quite literally the backbone of this state. In fact, about 88% of Kansas land is dedicated to farming and ranching. That's more farmland per capita than almost any other U.S. state. So, what's making Kansas a hot target for large-scale land buyers? First off, it's all about consistency. Kansas ranks first in wheat production, and it's a major player in corn, soybeans, sorghum, and beef cattle. The land here is flat, fertile, and productive. Plus, much of it overlays the Ogallala Aquifer, providing vital groundwater access that's critical for irrigating those endless fields. Farms with solid water rights are fetching $6,000 to $10,000 per acre in some counties, up 40% or more over the past decade. Then there's the access and affordability. Unlike coastal or mountain states, Kansas farmland is still relatively affordable when bought in bulk. Investors are drawn to the size and simplicity. Imagine purchasing a 10,000-acre spread without ever seeing a traffic light. It's no wonder land is being bought quietly, often through trusts and LLCs, with little fanfare but a lot of ambition. And here's the twist. Kansas also sits at the center of America's food supply chain. Railways, highways, and grain elevators are everywhere, making it easy to move product. Whether it's being used to grow wheat, raise cattle, or hold for future appreciation, Kansas land is becoming an increasingly strategic asset. So while Kansas may seem quiet and rural, its farmland is part of a much bigger game. Investors aren't just betting on wheat. They're betting on the future of food, water, and land in America's heartland. Number 2. Arizona. When people think of Arizona, farmland usually isn't the first thing that comes to mind. You picture cacti, deserts, and heat. But believe it or not, Arizona is quickly becoming a hotspot for farmland acquisition. With over 26 million acres of agricultural land, it's a surprising player in the U.S. food system, especially when it comes to crops like lettuce, alfalfa, cotton, and durum wheat. Yuma County alone produces nearly 90% of the U.S. winter lettuce supply. So why are investors drawn to a state that barely gets 13 inches of rain annually? The answer lies beneath the surface, literally. Arizona has relied heavily on groundwater pumping, and certain regions still have deep aquifers, particularly in La Paz and Pinal counties. Farmland here is all about water rights, and when those are bundled with land, values shoot up fast. Some parcels with senior water rights are now priced at $10,000 to $12,000 per acre, more than double what they were just 5 years ago. Then there's the long growing season. With more than 300 sunny days a year, Arizona farmers can produce multiple harvests annually. It's ideal for alfalfa, which is in high demand globally for livestock feed. This demand has even drawn attention from foreign entities, adding pressure to the local land market. The development factor plays a huge role too. Arizona's proximity to California, Lower land costs and looser zoning laws make it attractive for those planning new communities, renewable energy projects, or data centers. Rural land is being scooped up, not just for farming, but for what it might become. But not everyone's cheering. Longtime residents are raising eyebrows about groundwater depletion with some wells running dry. And as land changes hands, often through holding companies, it's getting harder to track who's calling the shots. In Arizona, farmland might look dusty and dry, but it's quietly becoming one of the most strategic investments in the American Southwest. Number 1, Nebraska. If there's one state that's become the poster child for quiet farmland takeovers, it's Nebraska. You might think of it as a place full of silos, tractors, and long drives between cornfields, and you'd be right. But behind those golden waves of grain, something big is happening. Investors are moving in fast, and they're buying land by the tens of thousands of acres. Nebraska, it turns out, is the crown jewel of American farmland, and it's going fast. Nebraska has over 44 million acres of land, and a staggering 91% of it is farmland. That's more than 39 million acres dedicated to agriculture, larger than entire countries like South Korea or Iceland. It ranks in the top 5 for production of corn, soybeans, beef, and ethanol. Agriculture fuels nearly 20% of Nebraska's economy, making it one of the most agriculturally dependent states in the nation. But what really makes Nebraska farmland valuable? It's the Ogallala Aquifer, one of the largest underground water reserves in the world. In eastern and central Nebraska, access to this aquifer means consistent irrigation, which equals high yields and lower risk. An absolute jackpot for anyone looking to buy land with long-term food security in mind. Some plots with water rights have doubled in value over the last 10 years, reaching up to $10,000 per acre in high-demand regions. What's wild is how quietly it's all happening. Large tracts, 5,000, 10,000, even 20,000 acres, are being purchased through LLCs or trusts, often flying under the radar of public attention. Local farmers are starting to notice, though. As land prices climb, it's getting harder for young families to buy in, and communities are starting to feel the pinch. So while Nebraska may look quiet on the surface, it's become the heart of a massive land shift. The Great Plains aren't just feeding America, they're becoming one of its most valuable hidden assets.